Hello, everybody. Thank you for joining me. This is Game God Fluent, bringing you early morning episode 6 of Let's Play Vagrus, the Riven Realms. We are currently still in the Pilgrims of the Wasteland campaign, prologue, I should say. And I've not actually started our own Comitatus yet. That is coming, though, after we do this story-based module. Which is the prologue. So I hope you guys are doing well. Ready to see some Vagrus. I say it's early morning because it's about 6 o'clock and I'm a bit tired. I haven't slept. Which is no big deal. My sleep schedule is a little wonky right now. But hopefully I'm not too quiet and, I have the proper energy for this episode. We shall see. And I hope you guys are ready to see more Vagrus. We left off in Avernum, and there's a lot to do there. And a lot to read, so I hope I'm able to read, actually, because my eyes are kind of crossing a bit, too, on my laptop. But it's all good. As always, let's continue. Alright, so the first thing we want to do here is go ahead and head to Sidarius' hideout because he's waiting on us. We slept the night. We could do all this other stuff, but let's go ahead and check out Sidarius' hideout. Sidarius' hideout is a tumbled down set of stone buildings about a block away from the temple of Sergorod. You can reach it by going to the enclosed courtyard of several houses, entering the cellars, and ascending a well-hidden set of stairs. There's always a novice or two down in the cellar on guard duty. The apartment Sidarius occupies is owned by the church, but few know of it even among the anointed. It is usually used when they have someone to hide, which is fairly rare. It's not well furnished and quite dirty. The night Sidarius usually sits at a decrepit table or paces back and forth like a black lion. Report to him. Let us begin, Vagrus. There's no time to waste. You can almost hear Sidarius' teeth grindings as the two of you talk about the investigation. He's clearly on edge for being powerless while confined to this hideout of his. He begins explaining the situation after you sit down. When I arrived here on request of the Order to root out the abolitionists plaguing the region, we assumed that they are no more than well-organized gangs laying ambushes on travelers out in the wasteland. Perhaps some idealists and born aristocrats in the city and escaped slaves that join their ranks, but nothing more. A nuisance. Now I'm absolutely sure that quite a lot of powerful people are involved in this whole mess, since they had the audacity and resources to set a trap for my contingent. That required coordination between the slaves and the slave lovers. Therefore, I conclude that the people my initial investigation involved had to have been in cahoots with the abolitionists. You need to find them and learn all you can about what they are hiding. Because we are dealing with powerful people, you need to apply subterfuge. There are 3 sources you have to investigate. These 3 targets were all close to the lead that guided us into the ambush up north. Who's your first target? Our first suspect is Assistant Magistrate Galudius Darrow. He was the one assigned to my cohort when we took up the investigation in Avernum. He coordinated with local law enforcement and served as a mouthpiece for the Prefectus and his magistrates. I have no doubt that he has to be involved in some way. Getting to him would not be easy, but I figured something related to me and my contingent's fate would pique his interest. Therefore, go to the Slag fort and report to officials that you have information about my fate. That will almost certainly get you an audience with Darrow. Tell him you've come across signs of battle and remains of Sergoridites up north. When he asks if there was a Knight of the Order among them, tell him no. You ask him what purpose this would serve other than alerting him and his fellow conspirators. Well, you do not have the powers of a priest of Sergorod at your disposal, but you do have the next best thing, he says with a predatory smile and looks at Javik. Your friend stirs and seems uncomfortable but nods. I can read his mind. This topic will surely divert his thoughts on the matter, making the scan much easier. Oh, I can read his mind. This topic will surely divert his thoughts on the matter, making the scan much easier. Who's the second target? Next, we have Centurion Vardus Pendius, a drunkard fallen from grace. The old soldier was key to the lead we got in our initial investigation. He had been tasked with leading a patrol in the north reaches between Arenas Negris and the Molten Tongue. According to his report, they found tracks out in the rough terrain and followed them almost to the Voiceless Lake. There they stumbled upon a sizable camp hidden in some ravines. They turned back because they were severely outnumbered, and Pendius knew that the camp was either outlaws or a liberated tribe. But when they were leaving, they got ambushed by these hostiles. Only 3 soldiers survived, but only Pendius made it back to Avernum. Conveniently, Sidarius frowns. Pendius is now enjoying his leave of duty. I need you to get him stinking drunk and deftly question him about these matters. I am sure that his report is completely fake, but he may let slip who made him lie in the courts. He is a regular at the Rusty Pugio. Centurion are officers in the Imperial armies. Originally a Centurion led one company of about 90 to 100 men, but that role changed much later on, and now they can lead groups ranging from companies to cohorts. Some of them fill in other important roles in a legion. Veteran Centurions could count on a life of relative wealth thanks to the service to the Empire, but many went on serving in political offices. Who's the third target? Finally, there's the Smelters Collegium. Word is they run half the city, especially its criminals. Collegium. Right, we know what that is. Word is they run half the city, especially its criminals. They were not directly involved in the plot, but whoever armed the abolitionists must have done it through them. Also, whatever the damned slave lovers take from the Kamitati that fell victim to them has to go through this city's black market, also run by the Collegium. They'd never talk to a Sergorodite, but they would talk to you. See what you can learn about them, but be prepared to be clever or they'll get suspicious. Sidarius puts a copper coin on the table. This should be more than enough for bribes. Use your guile or your sorcerer's telepathy or whatever, I don't care. Just glean from them as much as you can from the abolitionists' contacts in this city. One of their headquarters is the tavern called Gallows Anvil. Now you know everything to start your investigation. Sidarius' hideout. Pay your gate tax. We can add 2 resourcefulness. Moderate chance of success. Ask him about his mission, what he thinks of Avernum, ask about the knights. Okay, leave the hideout. Okay, I guess we can go ahead and investigate or check out other things. There is no time limit, so we're perfectly apt to just do whatever the heck we want. We bought guard animals, and we bought standard armaments. Let's go ahead and investigate, though. You decide to follow up on one of the leads given to you by Sidarius. Which one will you choose? You can only pursue one of the 3 investigations per day. Let's go to the Slag Fort to spy on Assistant Magistrate Galudis Darrow. To your mild amusement, the plan Sidarius came up with to lure in the assistant magistrate works. Upon arriving to the Slag Fort, you tell one of the clerk slaves in service of the courts that you have news about the Sergorad followers you think were killed in the north. The slave asks you to wait until he reports to one of the administrators. Before you could sit down with said bureaucrat, a clerk arrives to tell you that the assistant magistrate Dara will personally listen to your account. You are escorted to the offices on the top of the courts. You are told to knock and enter. Javik looks at you knowingly and you stand before the office door. Morwen is picking her nails. You knock and enter. You find yourself inside a spacious office with a small slit window looking out onto the courtyard of the Slag Fort. There's a desk here with scrolls stacked up on one side and a few open ones lying in the middle. Maps of the region are on the walls and rows of shelves hold even more scrolls. A clerk slave busies herself with organizing these. A middle-aged man with a warm smile rises from the chair at the desk. He has dark eyes and a receding hairline. Over his orange tunic is the sash of his office, blue and purple, with a silver clasp holding it at the shoulder. He introduces himself as Galudis Darrow. My subordinates tell me you have news of a group of Sergorodites. We are awaiting a cohort of such constitution back to the city, but we were beginning to be worried that something happened to them as they are late. Perhaps you might have heard of them. Tell him you've heard rumors in the city that such a company had left a while ago. So you've asked around before coming here. Understandable. I'm sure you wanted to know as much as you could beforehand, and I think you realize how urgent and important this matter is, so please tell me everything. You tell him the fakes. I kind of want to tell him that we were forced to come here by a rogue knight of the Black Sun, but what could he possibly do to help me? Tell him the fake story Sidarius concocted. Just start at the beginning. You clear your throat before starting. My comitatus was traveling from Scrap Heap along the main south along the Molten Tongue. We came around the Voiceless Lake. And my scouts returned with news of dead bodies to the east of us. I decided to investigate carefully. Go on, says Darrow, scratching his chin thoughtfully. We checked the bodies. There was a lot of undead, mostly the smoldering variant. It was clear that there was a great battle here. The other bodies all belonged to the same group. They were all Sergoridites and their armed followers, a handful of them badly mutilated by the undead. We checked and found no survivors. We took some weapons and whatever valuables we could find on them. Understandable. These must be of great value, and you are a businessman. Your report now makes up for what you took, Vagrus. Carry on with the report. You conclude the story by telling him that you have not come across any undead or Sergoridites, living or dead, on your journey here. Have you seen a knight among the bodies, perhaps? Tall fellow, blonde hair, broad shoulders, dark armor, and quite an exquisite helmet. Fights with a greatsword, Darrow asks after a brief pause. You tell him you did not find anyone among the bodies matching the description, even though you checked them fairly thoroughly. The assistant magistrate thanks you and promises to bring the report before the high-ups in the city. Should they decide to further question you, they'll find you at your berth. Take your leave. Long after you've left the Slag fort, Javik tells you that the plan has worked. I read his thoughts on the matter. It is clear that he knew much about the setting of the trap. He got really upset when you told him Sidarius might be alive and well. He thought about his career and the prefect, but also to report this to someone called Hanvius as soon as he can. Return to the Moncio. Okay, I should have just told... I don't want to work for this Black Knight, but we're kind of stuck here. Visit the Sorcerer. They say a powerful sorcerer lives in the Villa District. The Tower of Incanus, the Sorcerer, stands at the border of the hill, overlooking the streets and alleys filled with foundries and forges on the northeast side of Avernum. Half engulfed in smog, the tower stands much taller than any building nearby. The soot-covered walls made of black stone are so smooth that it looks almost seamless. A line of gigantic fang-like spikes crowns the flat top of the tower. You walk up to the iron gate where a large eye carved out of obsidian comes alive and gives you a good stare before emitting a strange moan and becoming motionless again. The gates open slowly to reveal a spacious antechamber that you enter. The roof is supported by black, smooth stone pillars. Magical lights float sleepily around like fireflies. There are sofas and chairs here, enough to seat a dozen guests in great comfort. Somehow the place feels odd. It is many times larger on the inside than it should be, judging from the outside. The imposing figure of Incanus stands motionless in the center of the antechamber and greets you in a monotone voice. You can't figure out if he's bored or simply lacks emotions in general, but he's courteous and very perceptive. You can only feel his piercing gaze from under the large hood of his crimson robes. There is something on your mind, Vagrus? Something you hope I'll provide a solution for, and you know that it'll have a price, he drawls. Oh, he's a collector of rarities and curios. I should have kept the compass. I probably could have got even more for it. Tell me what you can about the last pilgrimage. -1 Learg. Oof. The sorcerer hesitates only a little before mentioning with his long-fingered hand for you to sit down. You comply. Something tells me you've had an encounter with this cavalcade of spirits. Tell me about it, he says after he pockets your coins and sits down himself. You carefully recite your chance meetings with the last pilgrimage. Every now and then, Incanus interrupts to ask you very specific questions about your experiences with the specters. He seems especially interested in your visions that triggered when the undead procession was near. Incanus stays silent and motionless for a long while after you finish telling the story. At length, he stirs and asks you in a rasping voice, What is it exactly that you'd like to know? What is the last pilgrimage? How did it come to be? This pilgrimage was initiated just before the calamity, according to legend. They say that weeks of odd and deadly omens preceded the catastrophe itself. Rain of blood, purple skies, weird apparitions, visitations from the dead, that kind of phenomena. Initially less in frequency and intensity, the omens were taken as divine warnings by all. However, the interpretation of these signs differed vastly. One group of high priests believed the elder gods sent these because Imperials strayed from the right path somehow, that they incited their wrath and the gods had to be appeased. Thus, they converged in the north, either in Tot or in Mortocpolis. Nobody knows for certain, and they gathered a vast procession of followers and lesser clergymen around them. The priests then announced that in order to earn the forgiveness of the gods, they were to walk to the capital and pray along the way. They cast down all their rich garments and trinkets and set out, barefoot and full of hope. Incanus holds a dramatic pause. Yet their hopes and prayers were in vain. As the pilgrimage gained followers by the thousands, while they proceeded south along the Emperor's Road, the calamities struck. Most of the pilgrims died in agony as the cursed winds tore their flesh off their bones and rived their souls. But the priests endured. I did not say lived on purpose. Twisted and reanimated by the dark power of the cataclysm, they rose again as undead abominations and continued their journey. Only now they appear and disappear without any discernible logic and move in strange angles as a ghastly procession of specters. They are doomed to wander forever, never reaching their goal, never resting, never knowing peace, and never gaining the forgiveness of the gods, because those gods are dead and gone. You shudder under the sorcerer's gaze. What happens when they run into someone? Now that they are cursed to wander the wasteland eternally, they appear suddenly and disappear shortly after. Most of the time, nobody knows where they are, but when they appear and come into contact with someone, that person is gone forever. Therefore, a clear account of such a meeting is non-existent. One theory suggests that such unfortunate individuals are assimilated into the pilgrimage and wander as disembodied spirits, walking the same eerie path as the tormented souls of the original pilgrims. Others suggest that the cavalcade sustains itself by drawing on the life essence of its victims. Nothing of them is ever found afterward. How do we know this? Sometimes people were able to observe such encounters from a safe distance. The last pilgrimage was known to have destroyed fairly large comitati, so they do not only attack small groups or individuals. Naturally, the number of their victims is vastly overstated. There are studies of these beings, studies that collected all the reports of their appearances throughout the centuries following the calamity. One second, guys. Okay, I'm back. There are studies of these beings, studies that collected all the reports of their appearances throughout the centuries following the calamity. It seems that they never ever appear south of the Twin Towers, which they failed to reach while alive. It is also quite clear that, given the short time between encounters at distant locations, the last pilgrimage travels via magical means. The most popular notion is some form of teleportation because nobody has ever encountered them in the outer realms. However, they do have the tendency to haunt a specific region or area for a while before moving on. Incanus leans back in his chair and crosses his fingers. However, there was never anyone who met the pilgrimage twice so closely and lived. I find that extraordinary. They never appear south of the Twin Towers. The Twin Towers are ancient fortifications guarding the main mountain pass of the Sepus Mountains, which has always been the border between the province and the lands beyond, Terra Super and Imperial, throughout Imperial history. One of the forts sits on the western, the other on the eastern slope of the pass, only a mile from each other. Though these keeps were of chief importance during the early mid-Third Age, They soon fell into disrepair due to relative peace ruling the Empire's middle regions for centuries on end. Having survived the calamity, the forts that were used as staging grounds for the reclamation of the northern territories. The last time a sizable force occupied them was during the Orc War, however, and the Western Front suffered great damage when it was besieged and subsequently sacked. Since then, only the Eastern Fort is maintained, yet it only supports a token garrison whose main task is to gather road tax from travelers. And never encountered them in the Outer Realms. The Outer Realms are the infinite dimensions that were formed at the creation of the universe and serve as the foundation for reality. These planes were the home of the Elder Gods and their host of proxies prior to the calamity. The individual worlds, or realms as they are called, are connected by the Outer Realms. And although travel is possible normally, for the most part, the vast distances necessitate the use of gates, portals one can pass through to get somewhere instantly. The Outer Realms were created at the dawn of time by the gods, according to some religions, or coming into being by themselves. Some sages even suggest that they were formed gradually as the intricate conduits between mortals and gods slowly filled the universe with an extended reality. Whatever the case, the Outer Realms are so unimaginably vast that nobody, not even the gods of present day, has seen it all. In its focal point lies the Well of All, which is the source of all creation according to imperial religion. However, it was obscured by the Elder Gods long before their departure, and thus no new realms or beings can be created. The most prominent landmarks of the Outer Realms are Mount Zeen and the Abyss, the former being the abandoned and haunted seat of the Elder Gods, while the other is the prison of Omkio, father of all demons, who is chained at the bottom of the endless void. Tartarus, the underworld, is also part of the Outer Realms, containing parts of the great void that is called the Abyss. The Damned, the great army of the demon princes, has reclaimed most of that accursed pit, and uses it as a staging grounds to invade most of the Outer Realms. Indeed, apart from abandoned reaches and some still standing forts like Karad Rune, most of the Outer Realms has been decimated by the onslaught of demonkind, so travel through it has been perilous in recent millennia. During the calamity, the continent of Zerine has suffered such immense arcane damage that the boundaries between the Riven realms and the Outer Realms broke in numerous places, and thus hundreds, if not thousands, of unstable but permanent gates were created, often obscured by local anomalous activity. Thus, many beings normally kept out of Zerine by the rules set down by the Elder Gods eons ago could now enter through these cracks and make a new home in the Riven realms. This is the main reason for the existence of demonkin and outright demons in the Riven realms, as well as for the presence of some planeswalking races such as the Kalrish, the Ogres, or the Ethel. The explored gates were subsequently used to create fast ways to travel over vast distances. Many of these are owned by powerful sorcerers of the Empire itself. Dang. Even though it's cold in here, you're sweating. Is it possible that they are following me? Ah, that is the question, isn't it? Incanus scratches his scrawny beard with skeletal fingers. All information collected by the wise throughout the centuries, as well as anecdotal accounts, tell us that the appearance of the pilgrimage is completely random, and there has never been anyone recorded who encountered them twice, not even madmen who were looking for them. So when you told me about the 2 times you've met the pilgrims, I was skeptical, yet I can see you are telling the truth. The sorcerer clears his throat. There are 2 possibilities, I believe. 1, it was indeed chance, however minuscule, that you happened upon them a second time. The chances of a third encounter are negligible. 2, they were roaming a specific region, in this case, Arenas Negras, and because there is practically nobody in that region, they converged on the only living beings nearby, your Comitatus. In any case, I'd avoid the Desert of Black Sands and its border ranges for a while if I were you, and thank the gods for surviving 2 such chance meetings. You were not planning to visit that dreadful place anyways. Can they be defeated somehow? Let me answer your question with a question. Incanus leads forward. If it was possible, why do you think no one has ever managed to do so? You gulp involuntarily. What could my visions mean? No account of an encounter with the pilgrimage that I can recall speaks of visions, only apparitions and eerie lights. Yours and that of your companion seem to be a unique reaction. I wonder if it has anything to do with your telepathic companion. The sorcerer glances at Javik, who is standing a few yards away, leaning on a pillar. Unlikely, your friend says, frowning. At our second encounter with these beings, I was busy holding our beasts of burden from running away with my mind, so I did not see any visions at all. How would it be connected to me if I was the only one not to see anything? I concur, Incanus nods and turns back to you. Unfortunately, dreams, visions, and phantasms are not my area of expertise. I suggest you seek out an oniromancer, or a shaman, perhaps. The Sorcerer tribes to the south and west have shamans who are said to communicate with the elements and spirits of the world. It may be that such a person could tell you more. Perhaps it'd be wise to seek them out. That is all. Thank you, Incanus, for your help. +5 insight. Incanus looks at you intently. Was there anything else, Vagrus? He's a collector of rarities and curios. Perhaps he's interested in one of your items? He examines the items you brought with great care, but without uttering a word. He offers the price for each that pique his interest. Dwarven compass. Okay, his price was lower. Thank goodness. I don't want to look at all these because they're spoilers. You don't want to sell anything else right now. Identify something for you. Leave for now. You did everything you came here for. Alright. Visit the Slag Fort. The mighty Slag Fort is the headquarters of the city guard, the Avernus Legion, and the prefectus himself. The fort overlooks the city from atop a hill on the south side, its main tower looming threateningly over the streets close by. Made entirely of the same kind of dark stone, the Slag Fort is completely black now thanks to layers of soot that cover its surfaces. Scrutinized briefly by the grim legionnaires at the gate, you enter the courtyard of the fort, which houses the few institutions the public can visit: the offices of the city guard, the courts, and the bounty offices. What was the Avernus Legion? Avernus Legion is the 16th Imperial Legion, Legio XVI, first summoned by the Senate in PC 941 to aid the existing legions in the Second Viren War. Conscripts were mostly pulled from the Searing Plains, Jagged Wastes, and Hearthlands regions. Because many young officers hailed from Avernum and showed exceptional promise, the Legion got named after the city. Fame only came later, when Avernus took a lion's share in the battles that led to the assault on the Varani capital itself during the Siege of Old Varan, 991 to 993. Although the siege was eventually broken, most Imperial forces were withdrawn unscathed thanks to the sacrifice of the 16th. Having lost a lot of men, Avernus Legion returned to the Empire, but its ranks were not refilled, some say for political reasons. The 16th became a glorified guard force in and around the capital for many decades to come. In PC 1085, Gaius Ravius Praediris, a young and bright aristocrat, joined the ranks of the Avernus Legion and quickly rose to prominence as an officer as well as in popularity. The 16th was deployed on the northern front after a lengthy peacekeeping mission in Tark, but was fully disarmed in PC 1088. Gaius Ravius, who was appointed the governor of Avernum, took a large group of veterans from his command to the city. Now on his payroll, the former 16th, keeping the name Avernus Legion, became the personal army of the nobleman, who was commonly referred to as the prefectus. Ever since, they have been his loyal peacekeepers, guardsmen, and assassins, granted legitimacy by their lord's position. Wait, was the Lord Gaius? Young brother. Yeah, Gaius Ravius. Let's go to the prefectus. The man called the Prefectus is the governor of Avernum, appointed by the Imperial Senate. Although the office of prefect is well known and utilized in the Empire, the man in question is quite a unique individual when it comes to his office and authority. Rumor has it that the city has become the private empire of this ambitious and mysterious aristocrat. Called Gaius Ravius Praediris, the Prefectus is of noble birth, an aristocrat who has been given his own command in the Avernus Legion, Legio XVI, at a very young age. Clearly gifted, he abruptly put an end to his military career after the sudden disarmament of Legio XVI and tried his hand at politics at the capital, which proved to be a dangerous game even for someone of his skills and wealth. Whatever happened there is unclear, but after several years of service to the Empire, Gaius Ravius was appointed the governor of Avernus and moved there, taking with him his old military unit from the Avernus Legion, even keeping the name. Gaius Ravius is not a man to trifle with. He has taken Avernum from a backwater town to a prosperous, if cruel, city in a matter of years and managed to secure his own power at the same time. The Avernus Legion is not much more than his personal mercenary army, utterly loyal and generally feared, and rightly so. Because of the relatively loose presence of the triumvirate churches and its isolation from the rest of the empire, Avernum has been known to have taken imperial law more as guidelines than actual rules, and the Prefectus has benefited the most. Okay, let's go to the bounty office. The bounty office is housed in a small, dilapidated building behind the courts. A group of unsavory types is awaiting in front of it to be called in. Bounty hunters. Mean-looking trophies and cruel weapons hang from their belts. You wait in line to speak to the general bounty officer and get in after a quarter of an hour. A diminutive, bespectacled man, the bureaucrat gives you a boring speech on the bounties that are available. You figure there's no point in competing with the local hunters for city bounties, but the ones in the wasteland are your turf. There's a bounty on a especially large Jacra. It appears that there's an overgrown monster that leads its lesser kin against travelers and outposts in the desert south of here. Who knew that Jacras can figure out social hierarchies of all things? Yet we cannot let this miraculous evolution continue, and thus you should bring back the creature's head. Be wary that its little posse might be quite numerous by now. You wonder, how are we supposed to kill Jacras? You undertake the bounty hunt? There's a bounty on a pesky outlaw chieftain. I wonder what draws men to the life of an outlaw. Wait, who's saying this? I wonder what draws men to the life of an outlaw. Take Covius, for example. He was a fine gladiator with a great reputation. What a dashing fellow, I thought. What decapitations! And what does he do? He runs away with a bunch of gladiators and lowly slaves to live out there in the searing heat of the desert, preying on honest citizens such as yourself. It truly escapes me how it's better than here. But you can't teach his kind, I suppose. He's just a Sharduk. And as much as we adored him in the arena, sands outside of the arena shall run red with his blood for his crimes, and you shall be his executioner. Bring his head back intact, though I mean the office will perhaps want to keep it around. Yes. Got a thing for heads, huh? Sharduk. Sharduk are a culture of humans who managed to adapt to the cruel deserts of the east after invading Zerreen just before the calamity. Sharduk typically have gray eyes, suntan skins, which was originally quite fair, and light hair, brown or blonde. They are well built and extremely hardy. Just before the calamity, when the Empire was in the midst of brutally subjugating the nations of Tark and Varan, an immense fleet of gigantic ships landed on the eastern shores of Zerreen, filled with the exiled people of the Sharduk. Already fairly savage after a long period of social collapse in their homeland to the far east, the invaders decimated the Great Eastern Plains, the breadbasket of the Empire. The legions responded, but only managed to achieve a shaky armistice that the Senate accepted in the hopes of buying time against the rebelling provinces. Then the calamity struck. The Sharduk followed the guidance of their gods, boarded their ships, and waited out the calamity off the shore. Upon returning, they saw that their new lands had become terrible, bleak deserts, but it was never in their nature to give up. So instead of despairing, the Sharduk accepted the challenges presented by the New World and adapted to the Great Eastern Desert where they dwell even today. Today, Sharduk are wandering tribesmen who hunt and ride giant lizards and are feared throughout the Empire. They are considered cruel and barbaric, though perhaps they are not much more barbaric than many other tribal cultures of the continent, yet they have a terrible reputation, and since they are at odds with everyone else thanks to their marauding lifestyle, nobody likes to see them anywhere other than their deserts. A Sharduk would kill his own mother if it meant getting a few Lyrg, is a common saying in the Empire. Okay. There's a bounty on a roaming undead abomination. Undead, silly expression. Should it not be unlive? Sorcerer's reanimation or not, they are corpses, no more. But enough of semantics. There's a particularly nasty creature that roams the southern edge of the Molten Tongue and attacks on sight. It has caused some grief among travelers who ran afoul of it. The Utvarar can't or won't do anything about it, so it's up to us again to set things right. That creature belongs under the earth, so put it back there and bring back some part of it to show me that the deed is done. Oh, and one more thing. It has this silly tendency to draw other unlive to itself, so it'll probably not be alone. Unlive? Yes, I'm going to use it from now on. The Utvarar. The village is home to the Utvarar tribe of the Sorcerer people who call the Searing Plains their home. It is built upon a bleak plateau overlooking the southern lava fields of the Molten Tongue. Each of the four great Sorcerer tribes is connected to an elemental great spirit, the Utvarar being worshippers and wielders of flame, and thus their culture, magic, and beliefs revolve around the element of fire. They are the most warlike and territorial of the nomadic Sorcerer. The village is built on a huge highland region overlooking scorching lava fields. The yellow-red volcanic stone buildings are painted orange or sometimes gray and are surrounded by thick stone walls. These defenses, along with a large number of warriors, make Utvarar a well-protected place. There are wells and caverns below the village guarded by fierce tribal fighters. Fires burn day and night to lead wayward hunters back to the plateau and to appease the raging fire spirit. Utvarar was the last place to be settled after the Sorcerer emerged from their vaults following the first few post-Calamity centuries. Originally exclusively nomadic, the Utvarar tribe finally decided to build their fort and village closest to the fiery lakes that are the dwelling of fire spirit in their view. It is said that the Utvarar have withstood several attacks from undead hordes in their village and were very difficult to negotiate with when the new empire reclaimed the Searing Plains. They only listened to the explicit order of the Sorcerer Council to cease fighting the newcomers and make peace. Utvarar trackers are notoriously brazen, having access to molten kingdoms of Devendar Thar regularly according to rumors. They are also relentless hunters of the undead, who they see as an abomination of nature, and thus kindling for the wrath of fire spirit. Alright. Leave the bounty office. Report Sedar. That's not going to work. Report Sedarius to the Avernus Legion. Perhaps you can get rid of him that way. That is not going to work. Let's see how long we've been playing. 37 minutes. Okay, we can do a little bit more. Enter the Temple of Segorad. The vengeful god might grant you boons or curse your enemies. We can deliver the belongings. Temple of Oscul. Oh, cool stuff. We'll check this out next time. Seek out the foundries. Ah. So that's where we smelt the metal. Avernum is a city of foundries and smelters due to its proximity to areas where ore can still be prospected or scavenged on the continent. Below the Villa District, the streets between the walls and the central hill are stacked with metallurgists' workshops and smithies. More than anywhere else in the city, the air is almost black with smoke that belches forth from the many chimneys and furnaces. It is unbearably hot here, yet many people flock here to do business with the smelters and smiths. What is your business here? Talk to the smelters about equipment made of metal. You talk to several smiths about how to make your carts more resilient by reinforcing them with metal. Eventually you come to an accord. You'll provide the metal and a fee. It will take a few days to complete the task. Reinforce carts? No. Smelt metal scraps into ingots? Yes. Smelting metal scraps will free up precious cargo space as it's much easier to pack and store ingots, and you can sell those just as well when you get to Devon. You only need to pay a small fee to the metallurgist each time you smelt their scraps. Smelt metal scraps. -3 changer. Smelting yields bronze and copper from the scrap pile. Take your ingot. -1 scrap metal, +1 bronze, +1 copper. Let's go see what that gets us at the market. Copper. Oh, that's better than selling a metal ingot. Copper and what was the other one? Brass? Bronze. $1.9. Dang. That is an upgrade. Sell the bronze. Sell the copper. Back up to 25. We can probably place an order for something. I'm going to go ahead and light a cigarette. We're just about out of time here, but maybe I should pay for the reinforced carts. I don't know. Let's see. Blinders and combat saddles. +10 chase. Cargo. We have an open slot of cargo, of tools, of navigation, of sorcery, of miscellaneous. +5% worker workforce. Can't get in. Oh, they can be miscellaneous. +8 combat strength, +5 chase, +10 hunting base chance. A pack of Mokoro trained to sniff out and run down prey. And they could be miscellaneous. Mining equipment, +1 prospecting. It's very expensive. Perimeter alarms, +20 vigilance. Set up during camp. These improvised traps and alarms will wake your crew once triggered by a furtive ambusher. And we can put this in miscellaneous. I want those hunting animals though. -15% consumption of the mount. Dwarven compass. Thank goodness that guy, that Incanus, wouldn't give us a bigger amount for the Dwarven compass. I would have been mad. Probably would have tried to buy it back and sell it though. It's either perimeter alarms or hunting animals. It's going to improve our hunting base chance. +10 is pretty nice. Takes a 50% to a 60%. You know, stuff like that. A 40% to a coin flip at 50. And they're cheaper. Whereas the perimeter alarms, price isn't really an object here, but requirements hunting. Do we have any sort of hunting? Morrowind does. Javik does not. I don't think I do. No. So we're not much for hunters. So I'm going to go ahead and get the perimeter alarms. Put them in miscellaneous. We still have a spot for cargo. Extra storage, +7 beast cargo. I don't understand what that means. Does that open up? Wait a minute. Why are these two lit up? Is that all the space we have? Or would that open up 7 more slots here? Or do we have a full 30 complement? Oh, that's interesting. I'm going to go ahead and buy the extra storage. Cargo containers are enlarged, allowing better storage. Plus 7 beast cargo. Let's see how that works. It adds a third slot. So yeah, we are only privy to these slots here. It doesn't add 7 slots, it adds 7 to the number, which is this. 140 out of 203. Got it. So, what we want to do is, we have nothing for navigation, right? Could buy the Dwarven Compass back, maybe, if we smelt enough. It's probably a bad omen if we, melt down the arms and armor. So we should probably deliver the belongings. I think it's a bad armor or a bad... Where's my journal? The news tab lists all the settlements that you currently have news from. These can be acquired either through stories or by using the exchange news options in Monsios. News entries are worth some money each time you use the exchange news in Monsios, providing a constant side revenue to help you out with your journeys. News entries degrade over time, becoming less fresh, which means less valuable in general. You can refresh them to their maximum by using exchange news and settlements, and sometimes through stories. Okay, hold space. Got it. Qualities, the last pilgrimage. Tasks. Rumors, savages. Let's archive that. So it doesn't say anything about the weapons and stuff. Should I melt them down? Or should I deliver them to the Sorcerer temple here? The temple complex of Sorcerer in Avernum is quite small compared to most imperial cities, but it's still a menacing sight to behold. Built of dark stone, clearly not from around this place, the buildings are covered with spikes and blades that reach towards the ashen skies. Furious-looking gargoyles, as well as sculptures of Sorcerer in the form of a powerful warrior in spiked armor, riddle the frontispiece. Inside, darkness covers all, and only red candles provide some meager light. Novices chant in shadowed alcoves, their grumbling voices added up to a constant angry prayer. A priest steps out of the pitch dark and stops you. His painted face and black attire gives you the shivers. What is it you ask of Sorcerer, the Raging One, Lord of Vengeance and Master of Curses? A modest contribution to the church, and you shall receive the power of retribution. We're melting these things down. Let's go to the foundries. Smelt down the arms and armor of the dead Sorcererites. +1 iron, bronze, -1 Leerg. Okay, that's that. Let's go ahead and smelt. Smelt a larger amount. -1 Leerg. Takes your ingots. +3 iron, bronze, and copper. Okay, now let's head back to the marketplace, see what we've got here. Got 4 iron. Wow, look what iron sells for. Oh my gosh. Do we sell it here or do we sell it in Devon? Consult a price history feature. We can't. Oh, we can. Iron. Dang. Sells for even more in the... Yeah, it wouldn't make sense to sell it here, the ingots, because... this place is loaded with this stuff. Scrap heap. Vitrar. Utvarar. What about in Devon? Huh, now what do I do with this? It's not making space unless we melt it all down. Okay, we have 3 copper, 7 iron, 6 bronze, 4 hides, 12 more scrap metal, 136 supplies, 2 ivory. Consult a price history on hides and ivory. Hides, they sell for more in scrap heap. Ivory, not much happening. Let's go ahead and maybe we can make something from the hides with the tribes. So let's see what the tribes can do. Fashioned into tools or ornaments. Could be something the tribes could do. We still have 2 beast lures. Oxalite charms. Alright, now let's head to what's the Temple of Oxal? Buy some trinkets, buy something you could use against an undead abomination. I'm gonna save here. Head to the Moncio. Maybe we should buy another slave. Let's buy another slave. Enduring effects, poorly defended. Posting guards costs 1 vigor during camp. Guarding your camp even in the most rudimentary way puts a strain on your guards. And it's persistent. We have to hire a fighter. Partially defended. Guarding your camp effectively puts a strain on your guards. What's the upkeep totals? 1 lyric for companions, 1 lyric for fighters. Daily upkeep is 4/5. This would add another 8 to that. we buy a mount? We can for 5 brass or whatever. Take on a passenger to Utvarar. Should I buy a mount? 1 iron bar would pay for it. Reptile mounts, beasts of burden. 2 march points, 11 movement points. I don't know what that really matters. Cargo value 5. Combat strength 7. Combat defense 2. Workforce needed small 3. Consumption of supplies. Consumption's at 90, so not a big deal. Let's go ahead and buy a mount. And make an outrider. Combat is now 101. And we have to hire 1 more fighter. We're still partially defended. That's as far as I'm going with this. I think, for now. We have the Wandering Old Man passenger. He's causing 1 Leerg. Upkeep. Notice this doesn't have a total, but there's a total here for passengers. No total for crew details. Oh, crew, it's up here. Daily upkeep, that's the total. And all the other totals can be found up here and such. Alright, let's see. Should actually probably buy 1 more slave. There we go. Crew, cargo. We're gonna have to buy supplies. So I'm gonna save here. We have some insight to spend next turn. I'm gonna improve one of our warriors. Let's head to the Monsieur. Let's go ahead and rest. 1 morale, 1 vigor, 1 nutrition. Pay now. Oh, we'll pay later. Well rested. Nutrition sustained. Odd jobs. Up to 3 Leerg. Only a 3% to lose the worker in morale, so we'll do that. Maybe make 3 Leerg. Oh no, it costs a vigor, never mind. +2 fighters, +2 slaves, +1 mount. Healing, are you still hurt? You are. We have a good chance to heal though. Could be well fed and fresh and keen. But we lose the vigor. Well, we'll do that next time. Let's go ahead and end the day. +2 vitality, +2 vitality, nice. So I want to thank you guys for joining me. This game is cool, man. I have never quite played something like it. We also have to check the biographies if there's anything new here. But yeah, interesting stuff I find. Hope you guys are finding it interesting too, and I hope you'll join me for next time as we explore the game even more in Avernum here. Thank you for watching. I truly appreciate you all. Stay tuned if you would. Much love, peace, and joy, and I'll see you next time with more Vagrus the Riven Realms. Very cool stuff. Bye-bye, guys.